We'll see
All
that
right,
on
whenever
YouTube,
you're
right?
ready.
Yeah, right? Okay. Does stress and fear get in your way? Would you like to know more about mastering stress? Do you yearn to provide more for your world? If so, you're in the right room because today's speaker is a certified heart math practitioner, wellness chiropractor, and nature lover. Please welcome stress expert, author of Healing Versus. I had to screw up something. Of the Psalms. Wow, good stuff. Okay, Healing Verses of the Psalms, and Andy Griffin diehard fan, Dr. Steve Ventola. Yay!
Thank you very much. Do you remember when you were in 3rd grade?
Yes.
Yes. Do you remember who your teacher was?
Yes. Mrs. Chalk.
Mrs. Chuck.
Mrs. Armstrong.
Doesn't it bring back memories with that? I remember I was in 3rd grade, and it was recess time, and I just finished my banana. And I see the garbage can sitting next to the teacher's desk about 15 feet away. So, you know, as a kid, 4th, 3rd grade, I was learning how to play basketball, my jump shot, my foul shot. So I decided to take a shot. And it goes errant, and it lands on the teacher's foot while she's talking to another student. I said, "What?" to myself, "No!" And I look around, no one saw me do that. The teacher continued to talk to the student. I said, "Wow, she didn't even notice that?" This is back in the 60s, and I guess their stockings at the time were very thick. So teachers maybe not have felt things land on their feet. So I slink back to my desk chair, and I just look at her. And she's talking to the teacher, and then finally the student walks away, and she sees the banana peel on her foot, calmly takes it off and puts it in the garbage can. And I thought to myself, well, maybe that's happened to her before. She was unfazed by it, but I was fazed by it. And I thought, you know, I don't know if you've had embarrassing moments back when, but looking back at that time, that was something I can see humorously now and tell that story. So that was one example. Other times, I'm driving through the Lincoln Tunnel. I'm 22 years old. My father's in the back seat, my sister Linda, and her husband Brant. My mother's sitting next to me. It's one of those chairs, you know, those seats, one seat. We're driving through, and my mother turns, and God bless her heart, she inspired me in a lot of different ways, but in this day she turns to me, goes, "No, look at these walls here. Don't you think, you know, there's water all over the place. Don't you think this water is going to come in on you?" And I thought to myself, you know, why would she say a thing like that? So it kind of that just stirred me a little bit there. So I drive the rest of the way, and I've driven through the Lincoln Tunnel many, many times before that. We drop off my sister and her husband at the port to drop them off, because I was taking them to drop them off for a cruise. So we start heading back through the Lincoln Tunnel, and about a quarter way into the tunnel, you know, I had my glasses on, and I was going like this, and I was seeing, like, was there a cloud in this Lincoln Tunnel here? And I'm driving, and all of a sudden I felt like I could hardly breathe. I'm holding on to the steering wheel tighter and tighter. I'm holding on until finally it was the longest moment, and talk about feeling scared. That was scary. Finally, I see the light at the end of the tunnel, and I get out of the tunnel, drive the rest of the way home. I go and see my girlfriend at the time right afterwards, and again, she was comforting, but something got stuck at that point. So for years on end, I felt a constant sense of turmoil inside in terms of not being able to do something, and feel ashamed for being afraid to drive through tunnels, and eventually that escalated into fears of being in closed places, like planes, like elevators, like malls. So something got stuck. today what I want to present to you is how to address those stresses that come along so they don't get stuck. More than that, actually how to address the stresses so you can feel happy in your life. Now, we're talking about being here to give this seminar for you today in terms of helping to enhance your work. So how can you be happier and healthier with your work? So who wants to hear more about that today? And I'm looking forward to present that. Thank you. Let's begin our presentation.
So Lloyd, we'll kick it over to you for the comments out of the gate, and then after, Lloyd is our guest enricher today. Longtime NSA person, someone who serves a lot, and somebody you want to get to know. Lloyd leads the First Friday group, which is fantastic up in Marietta. Hello to you.
Hi.
Hi.
Sorry it was late.
Welcome.
Are other people going to give comments?
Yes.
We'll have you give comments and then everybody else.
Okay. So how do you feel like you did?
I think I did okay. You know, in here, it's always feel a little more nervous. When I actually give a presentation, it feels so much more relaxed.
And what kind of feedback are you looking for?
I'm looking to see if that's an appropriate story to begin with, stories that begin that presentation.
You remember, I'm 63, so you'll probably know this maybe in better context. Remember we used to listen to the radio? And you would tell stories, like I remember as a kid, Roy Rogers on the radio, and you listen to stories like that. So I'm gonna give you a scenario, and I want you to tell me in your mind what you picture, okay? The little girl is afraid to run home because of the guy in the mask.
Okay.
What do you picture?
I picture a guy in a mask and a little girl.
So why would she be afraid to run home?
Because maybe she got scared beforehand with someone in a mask.
What about anybody
He's
else?
menacing in some way.
Menacing or that?
She's alone.
So,
It's dark.
It's a scary mask.
what if I told you that she was on third base and the catcher had the baseball in his hand and she was afraid to run home base? So context matters. I thought your stories were great. I might have put the context of the stories at the beginning. So today, I wanted to talk about, or I wanted to share with you, and then I might have asked questions. Have you had, instead of saying I want to talk about, being happier at work, have you had an experience at work where you felt like you weren't happy if something happened, or did something happen in the work environment that upset you? I might have asked questions, because if people don't feel and they can't connect with you right away, then they tend to rule things out. So that would be something I thought your stories were good. Is there a reason why you did them back to back?
Well, one was an easier one, that's something you can let go of, and the other one was a little bit more stickier, so the importance of what it takes to know how to address the stresses that come along. So
I kind of thought that's where you're going with it. So I might counsel you to consider breaking it up. So if you do the beginning, if you do this why I'm here today, have you had experiences with, take your 2 points and separate them and then connect the story to that point? Because what I first wrote down, until you kind of got into it, is story's good, not sure of the direction of them. So people sit there and like, well, what?
Gotcha.
I get the story, but what's the point of it? So I just think in the beginning, I'm here today to talk about how to learn how to speak, and we all get afraid speaking. In fact, we don't really realize how terrified we are about speaking until we get in front of somebody to speak. One of the things I learned is that when you speak, you don't have a problem speaking to people you know, you don't have a problem speaking in environments you're comfortable with, is with people you don't know and people you're uncomfortable with. So today I want to find out different ways we can be more comfortable with. See what I mean? So just kind of lay the foundation.
So set the stage first before telling the story.
Yeah, think of context. So, the little girl's afraid to run home because of the guy in the mask. But, it could be that you need a police officer there. It could be Halloween and she just needs somebody to be with her and comfort her. Or maybe she's just afraid to run to third base because the guy's got a baseball in his hand. So that would be my kind of story. I thought the stories were really good.
Good.
And I thought your delivery was excellent, very demonstrative, great body language, you sat down, you raised your voice, you lowered your voice. You know, you really, that's how you pull people in, you did good with that.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, Lloyd. I'd love to piggyback on what Lloyd just said, because some of us have seen you over time. And when you started, I said, this is a whole different Steve. Oh my gosh. And it was all about the strength of your voice,
Yeah.
the volume in your voice. I felt like you owned the room, and there was no tentativeness, that you weren't feeling for your words at all. Not necessarily what you were doing
Yeah.
before, but I came from something else this morning, and that's what they were doing. So I just thought that you opened beautifully, and I think on the subject of beginning with a story or not, and context or not, I think you can begin with a disorienting story. That was my word. I was disoriented,
Yeah.
and it was not even one. There were three, and I was thinking, wait, what are the ties? I'm connecting the dots. So it's busy up here, busy. But you can begin even with a disorienting story if you're trying to create an experience within us, and then we're really in it, and we're right there with you. And even then, it can't go on too long without the context.
Gotcha,
So I think
okay.
it's measuring how long it goes on, being clear on what your objectives are. Like, I want them to come with me and feel something. Now you got the feeling, okay, now I can work with you. Now I want to go on to the next thing, all depending on how long it goes. Yeah. Great.
Hi, my name's Kathy. I'm a newbie.
Welcome.
No, thank you. One of the first things that I noticed about you, even your introduction was really cool. And when you approached the stage, I said to myself, he's an interesting guy. I can't wait to hear what he has to talk about. The title of your book was intriguing. So when you came up, I would have loved a pause because you had cred. Okay? So give a pause and let people take you in and say, my gosh, what does he have to say? And then I agree with everyone else. Tell us where you're going to go. Personally, everyone's going to have a different opinion. I would have liked the first story about Banana Peel to go and to focus on that story in the tunnel, because you can build that dramatically as far as what it was like. It was dark, it got hot. Can you imagine being a mile underneath sea level? So I think there's richness in that second story. A lot of people can really get into that drama. And I loved your vocal variety. I loved the ups and downs. I loved the seating. You did a great job. You got great body expression. So take us there. That would have been a really, really good place to go.
Who else?
Can I just say I'm like you? Oh my gosh, I loved your face was alive, and that was such a big difference because
Yeah.
I just was like, yay! It was very exciting.
I'm
Thank
listening
you.
to you all, so,
Well, and this
Yes.
is why you all have to come back to Speak Lab. Come every time, whether you're speaking or not, because you get to see transformation in
Yeah,
here. I
It's
mean,
very cool.
right? Oh, what a treat.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
very cool. And you know, Dr. Z, when you said, I love it on the second story, you said when something gets stuck. You didn't say get stuck on the first story, but I love it because that really, and then how does the emotion getting stuck make me unhappy now in my life? Like putting that thread through there. I think that would be really helpful because then as I relate to the stories in my own life that I've gotten stuck, I'm like, is that the shit that's still making me unhappy or that's supporting me being unhappy today? I think that's a great.
So what a great a question that he can be giving. Where did something get stuck for you?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah. Cool. Thank you.
So how big is the audience, do you know?
it's not large right now, there's 16 participants. so far.
16, okay. Typically, I think questions at the very beginning of your speech steal your thunder. So I was like you, I love your intro. I think it's got a little bit of
Yeah.
funny there. It's very light and it gives you credibility. Your stories, if you can build some drama there, you really want to capitalize on the fact that you've got their undivided attention. When you ask that question, it took my attention off of you. And it's not that the question was bad or it didn't fit, but maybe it doesn't fit right there.
What was the question?
He asked,
Third grade.
Do you remember your third?
yeah, do you remember your third grade teacher, right? And that can absolutely come back in. I kind of like the Banana Peel story because it has some humor in it.
Yeah.
I don't know if I like it as an opening piece though. I agree with Kathy. I think the tunnel makes a lot, just cements what you're going to talk about for me a lot more.
Yeah.
I think if I were you, I would just walk up, like she said, pause, and go, imagine you're driving through the Lincoln Tunnel. And you're wide-eyed, you're however old you are at the time, and you're looking around, and there's water seeping in, and you're going, I'm really excited, but you know, I'm kind of a little scared too. And then all of a sudden, this authority figure, my mother, turns around and goes, wouldn't it be horrible if it just caved in on top of us? Right? So, and we can all, right? I mean, we can all relate to somebody being a little over dramatic like that in our lives, especially as a child that's just wide-eyed and absorbing everything. And we can all relate to having a narrative. So I think kind of really spend a little time with that. I've seen you tell these stories before, and they've been more tightened up than they were this time. I might suggest you write them down first, not that you script them, but writing them down will help make sure that you've got a beginning, a middle, and an end. You might not see that if all you do is kind of talk off the cuff. And then when you give it, you'll give it differently every time, that's fine. But really, really narrow that one down so that you've got it solid.
Good, thanks you guys.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Good?
Yeah? Anything else? Yay! And are you having someone videotape you?
That was a second thought, so